There it is, boys and girls. Good evening, good afternoon, good to see you. Run a little late here. That's on me. All right, we're rocking and rolling though. Happy Saturday to you. This show is, of course, brought to you by PrizePicks. Massive W for the boys on the road in the orange and blue against the fake orange and blue and Auburn Tigers today. Talk a little bit about that. Then, of course, big game tomorrow, Super Bowl. We're gonna dive into that a little bit. Ryan Day gets paid. Massive contract extension for him. Talk about that and have a few other topics on the board here for this evening. Good to see you. Smash the like button and subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got with us today Cody the Professor, and Cowboy Ty will be joining us, having some technical difficulties himself, but we'll get him in here and talk all things. But it kind of works out. He's not a Gator fan anyway, so no need for him to talk Gator ball like we will. So let's talk about it, man. Great game. First thoughts on the big W for the Gators?
Boy, it was a good one. And Auburn shot absolutely lights out in the first half. It felt like in the beginning, like, oh, maybe there's another caliber of ball here, and
we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. But boy, did the boys turn it around, and they got that 12-point lead, and they just never really gave it back up. So a lot of good stuff that I like to see is that, number one, we hit the three ball very well. You can't live off that. You don't want to be a team that live and dies off the three ball, but we hit it well today. You got to do that for a big upset like this one. And then another thing we did is, even with Elijah Martin out, everybody stepped up and we were aggressive offensively and defensively. Rebounding was superb. And it was just a hard-fought battle.
Yeah, look, we've got this 4-game stretch that we've talked about a couple weeks ago after that Georgia W. We talked about this gauntlet that was coming up, and we're third of the way through. We got one more on Tuesday against Mississippi State, again, a ranked team on the road, 2-1 thus far. And look, I said if we come out of this thing 2-2, that'd be awesome, just given the fact that I knew we had Auburn and Tennessee on the road. If you would have told me, hey, you go 2-2, but you take away from you get one from the number one team, I'd be happy. Look, I'm thinking 3-1 now. I think the way that they looked against Auburn on the road, I think it's a hostile environment, was exceptional. This team, how they looked outside that Tennessee game, which was embarrassing, shows you what they can be and why we should be excited headed into the tournament. Again, here's why March Madness is madness, because it's matchups, and it just all kind of depends on what you come up against in that tournament. And look, I said this too. What I love the fact with the SEC being as talented as it is and having so much to throw at you, every week we're being challenged in a different light, in a different way, and that's good for them to see. And something too with Elijah Martin being out, I've kind of said this all season long, that for Elijah Martin, for what's his name, Walter Clayton, he thrives when it's just him, when he's able to kind of be the guy. I mean, last year he was the guy. Him and Elijah Martin kind of been passing the buck a little bit, right? Both kind of like, who's going to be the guy to step up. And so Walter kind of got to go back into his old role. And so when he's hot, everything else kind of builds off of that. I'm not saying I want to get rid of Elijah Martin, but that was kind of what it felt like. It felt like the Gator team of last year, but this team of this year has a lot more pieces to go around it, especially Urban as well. He got 9 points, three big 3-pointers for him as well. Aberdeen comes in, does well. Condon, of course, keeps doing his thing. Thomas Hall, 16 points. Hall, however you pronounce it. Both him and Condon just playing tough, physical basketball. I love it.
Yeah, the bigs really impressed me today, man. They even shot a couple three balls. So it was a game to where it felt like Florida just took it to another level. It felt like it wasn't perfect all the time, but they were never really out of it. I mean, you look up at the score, and Auburn at the first half was like just dropping it from wherever they wanted, and then Walter Clayton makes a big three from the logo, and it was like, from then on, it was like, okay, watch out, we can play with these boys. And then defensively, I gotta tell you, man, it's really fun to watch the bigs work defensively. It's going to be a tough time in the paint with Hauk and Condon and the other big down there. I can't think of his name.
Hall or Ruben.
No,
Ruben.
he comes in off
Remember.
the bench.
Ruben.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, we've got it. Let's take a look at the stretch coming up for the Florida Gators and this basketball team. So we've got Mississippi State again. They're ranked, and then it's a little bit of a easier stretch, like Muddy just said. South Carolina, then Oklahoma, then LSU. None of those teams are ranked. Oklahoma just got curb stomped by Tennessee, I believe. Or is it Alabama?
Yeah,
They got absolutely
Tennessee.
walloped. Then Georgia at Georgia will be a fun one, and then we end the stretch. I'm excited because I'll be on vacation this last stretch here, starting March 1st, which is a Saturday game, 8:30 game in Gainesville. So I'll be full vacation mode for that game Saturday night, and then Tuesday against Alabama on the road, then back home for the last game of the season, March 8th against Ole Miss, which is that following Saturday. So great ending the season. I'll be happy that I'll be on vacation, getting to watch these games I was last year too. And again, this is kind of heating up into the SEC tournament, and then of course where the seeding will be. But look, if they're able to finish, let's take a look. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games left. You know, if you're finishing 5-3 or 6-2 in that stretch, I think regardless of how the SEC tournament goes, you're going to be a top 4 seed, I believe, maybe top 3 seed headed into the tournament. Again, it's kind of weird how these things figure out. I mean, I'm not some like guru when it comes to that, and how this thing shapes up, but I believe regardless of how the SEC tournament plays out, they're going to be a very, very high seed heading into it.
Yeah, the best thing about it too for me is like they play in Indianapolis, so it's going to be fun. I'm definitely going to be able to catch some games. Hopefully, they make a deep run unlike last year.
Yeah, this is when you met up with Strickland last year, right? Was during
Yep.
the run last time. Yeah. And you got the quote. Was it about Ball, right? When we got the quote about Ball.
Yeah.
Alabama is ranked number 3. Yeah, look, number 1 seed. So Auburn was 1. They go down. Tennessee is 4. Florida 6. Alabama obviously being number 3. Where does Florida sit after this big win? Got to be top 5. I mean, you're gonna have a little bit of a shuffle here. Auburn drops to their second game. Will they put Florida over Auburn after this? It was pretty dominant. The scoreboard. I mean, Auburn kind of made a little bit of a little late run, but it was a dominant game for 80% of it. They had that early run. They were up 20-13. And then Florida just took off and really never looked back and dominated the whole time. So will they jump Tennessee? I don't know. Bama probably slides to number 1. Tennessee probably slides to 2 or 3. And I would say probably 4 or 5 is Auburn, Florida. I think you could argue for Florida being over Auburn. I think you should, but we didn't jump Tennessee when they beat them before. I don't believe. Maybe we did.
Yeah.
I think we did, and then we obviously got beat. So maybe they will jump them. We'll see. We got a super chat here from Michael Parker. $20 says, "Go Gators, bye bye." Yes, sir, my man. Thank you for the super chat, man. Appreciate it. Much love there. Go ahead.
Looks like we might have Byron Lewis hanging out with us.
The Byron Lewis.
The Byron Lewis. It says Byron Lewis.
Go Gators. Let's go, Byron.
Yeah.
Go Gators, baby. Current running back for Florida Gators, incoming freshman. If it is the Byron Lewis, I mean, I don't know if there's me Byron Lewis running around. Maybe it is. Byron, good to see you, man. Let's get old Cowboy Ty up in here to chat his ear off. Hold on. Wife needs my Bluetooth off. All right, let me get.
Yes, Aaron. It was Alexis. That's who I couldn't think of. Alexis coming.
Oh, Sam Alexis. I was gonna say that, but I think that was it. Cowboy Ty.
I can't hear.
You might have to. Let me shoot him with that. This guy can't use his technology.
Oh shit.
Struggling.
Cowboy Ty's in shambles, boys. He got his new. Yeah, look. Yeah. I sent him a new mic and new camera, and he's all day. Today we were trying to get it all set up. He's got to plug headsets into the mic. There's literally a mic thing there, and he's just no bueno. Let's see.
Listen, buddy, I'm working out the kinks over here. Jesus Christ.
Are you good? Can you hear me? That's not going on.
I can hear great. I can't even keep the hat. I mean, it's a fucking mess.
Baby, at least you got a mic though this time. At least you got a.
Buddy, we're working out the kinks. We're getting there.
Is a mic in front of you?
I'm trying to move. I'm getting to work on too. Like, look, fuck it. We're gonna have a good one here soon. You just relax.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Let's go. I think we had another super chat here I missed. Let me see. We do. $5. Zachary Price says, thrilled you guys are talking more basketball lately. Keep the same energy when baseball starts. High Top is the best source of UF sports. Yeah, I mean, would love to. I think, look, it's tough to kind of catch all in basketball. They got a nice little schedule for it works out for me on Tuesday nights. I'm closing from the house. I'm able to watch it, and Saturdays I can figure it out. Baseball, I'll do my best. I love baseball. It was my first love. So we'll definitely keep some conversations flowing about it. And Super Chat for Rookie Lynn says $2 says Gators took no prisoners tonight. Love to see it. They really did. They really did, man. They handled their business very well. So love to see it. Look, we're going to talk a lot here today with Cowboy Ty, all things football, and of course the Super Bowl coming up to with tomorrow's game. So let's get rock and rolling on this. I saw this article on On3 and I loved it, and I thought it would be a great kind of just kickoff for the show once we got past the Gators basketball. And it's interesting because, you don't think about this kind of thing just because the sports kind of just move along. But with so much happening in college football and the NFL also kind of making a change of eras and change of quarterbacks and a change of scenery, there's a feel that you could have a new champion aboard here, right? So the question is what's going to happen first? A new college football champion, right? A team that's never won a college football champion, or a new Super Bowl champion, an NFL team that's never won the Super Bowl. I'm going to go to you first, Cowboy Ty, just because I know you're coming in here hot and sweaty. So
it's a struggle, but I'm coming in hot for sure. And I can tell you it's going to be NFL because the Eagles are winning tomorrow. Ship that.
But they've already won one, though. They've already won one. So it's a team
like
that's
new champion.
Never won.
Okay.
Never won. Yeah. Like never won at all. So
I would definitely still lean towards the NFL, and the reason is because I think you have your power conferences and your power teams that have already won national titles. Your Alabamas and your LSU's and people like that. To where in the NFL, everyone has a talent. I mean, you're just waiting for a coach, or you're getting the best of the best, and by that I mean these are the best guys from college, and you sit there and you look like. Anyone can go and win the Super Bowl. You take Jaden Daniels and you put him on a Commanders team that couldn't do anything last year, and now they are sitting there and they're in the NFC Championship game. Very easily, could have won. A little few pieces here and there, but in the NFL, you're a few pieces here and there away. But in college football, I feel like you're constantly moving people, and the power teams are always, in my opinion, going to have a better chance of winning a national title than someone like Boise, roughly, somebody like that,
Sure, I get it. The ease of an NFL team that hasn't won is much more likely to happen than these kind of, because again the big blue bloods have already won one. Cody, I'll let you go and then I'll give my thoughts.
Yeah, let's go. New Super Bowl champion. Hopefully, a team I like, the Minnesota Vikings, finally winning one next year with whoever at quarterback. I don't even give a shit at this point. Whatever. Whoever they plop back there and it's going to go on the magic carpet run again.
So you're thinking the Vikings, or you're thinking NFL too. Look, I think for next year, I think there's a really good chance for college football. The Ducks are a team that can go and win one, who have never won one, and I think they're in a really good position going into next season. I think Ohio State takes a step back. But again, the whole reason the conversation started was because, like you kind of just said, there's a lot of up-and-coming NFL teams that have never won before, obviously being the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they are just knocking on the door every single year. It's bound to break here eventually. Obviously, Joe Burrow and Bengals, if they would have made the playoffs this year, I think they would have arguably been one of those teams looking heavily at it. Vikings had a really good run last year. They could be someone who's knocking on the door. Detroit Lions were right there, favored to win the whole damn thing, and fell short. Houston Texans, obviously, with C.J. Stroud. A lot of those teams are going to be up in the upper echelon of favorites of next year, where college football doesn't have the same thing. But I think Oregon, with a little more favorable seeding, probably would have been in this conversation. Would have already happened. But I think next year will be probably your best opportunity. And I'm not saying Oregon's going to take a step back, but just the way the landscape of college football is, I think there's an open hole for them. And that's going to be next year. Because after that, I really think that unless they get a clamp on this thing, the way that spending is happening, the blue bloods are just going to get bluer. You know what I mean? And being able to expand themselves and really separate themselves, where, like you said, Boise and these teams, it's great for them. They'll make the playoffs. It'll be cool. Arizona State, we'll see those guys kind of get some splashes, and will it build some notoriety for those teams, and we'll talk about them for more? Sure. but will they ever get to go on a run? I mean, look at this team that we just saw with Ohio State, the run that they went on, right? And what they were able to do. That team, I mean, arguably talent-wise, is up there in the conversation with some of the greatest teams that when we talk about, we argue about it. Do I say it's the best team to ever win a championship? No, just because I don't feel like it dominated all throughout the entire year like some of these other teams did. But when we look at the talent on that team, by far, it's unmatched. And so a team like that, and look, they kind of single-handedly dominated. But look at the teams that were left. Notre Dame, another great stacked team. Those teams that we're talking about, the Boise, Arizona States, they obviously went down pretty quickly. I just don't know if they're ever going to have enough juice to squeak through the top.
I mean,
Yeah, I kind of like. Oh,
go ahead, Cody. Sorry about that.
I kind of like that Oregon pick, because here's the thing: a lot of people are sleeping on Oregon. They have got talent and talent and talent, and they're bringing in the best wide receiver of this class, and DeCorian Moore. That kid lit it up in the All-Star game. I mean, that kid's going to be this year's, probably the next Jeremiah Smith. I mean, he is absolutely electric. And they do have a quarterback. A lot of people are sleeping on him. Dante Moore is their quarterback, and he's been there in that Will Stein offense this will be his second year now.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't perfect at UCLA, but a kid that did start,
Played
he does have meaningful rep, played a lot.
He's going to his third year.
Now he's kind of going into his third year. This is it. And a highly rated quarterback. I think he was a 4 or 5 star.
He was a 5-star. Yeah, he was a dog coming out. And look, I mean, with the amount of hype that Arch has and DJ Lagway, this kid's carrying, like you just said, the same, I would say, backing, if not more, than those two that we just mentioned. He played way more reputable time than Arch and DJ did. And Arch obviously being the perfect scorer, it doesn't carry that or possess that. DJ Lagway being the Gatorade Player of the Year doesn't possess that, but was the number 2 or 3. I think he came out alongside Malachi Nelson and Jackson Arnold. I think the 3 of those guys kind of led that class. I think Arch may have been in. Yeah, Arch was in that class. And we obviously, Arch didn't play a lot in those games or in those bowl games that happened after the fact. But yeah, Dante Moore is no slouch by any stretch. And going into his junior year, it's not like he's just some freshman or sophomore. He's got a lot of playing experience, did a lot of great things at UCLA. And like you just said, has had a year under his belt. And for Oregon, when we see how they attack the portal, how they attack recruiting, they went out there and got some big guys. That 5-star kid who ended up flipping back to California, I don't believe he's a 5-star kid. That's a little weird one with me. But for them not to go after the portal like they did this past year for Dylan Gabriel leads me to believe they trust this kid.
They got something cooking.
Yeah. It wasn't even like a thought that we're going to go, look, we got our guy.
Yeah, I'm going back to a point of, you don't think the Arizona States, and all those guys. But I mean, if you go back and you look at them this year, I mean, those guys weren't supposed to be anybody. They were supposed to be 16th in the Big 12. Yeah. That's where they were picked. And I can tell you, they gave Texas everything they could handle and more, and possibly a targeting penalty away from, moving forward. So, I mean, I think college football is in a pretty good spot, saying that. And I still think we see an NFL champion before we see a new champion, but I do like your Oregon call. I think Oregon is very talented. It seems to me they just can't ever get over the hump. I don't know. Maybe, it's just whatever that is. It just feels like they don't make the move, like you beat Ohio State and then you go into the Rose Bowl and you lose by 30, it's like,
yeah,
they don't seem to perform on the big stage like they should. And I think they got roasted by Georgia a couple years ago in the opening round or opening game. I mean,
Dan Lanny's first game in Oregon, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cut him some slack.
I do, but you got to win. You got to win.
We got a super chat from Gator Believer, $5 says, Shelton, your Gators by 1 million short is freaking legend. I don't know which one you're talking about.
I've heard it about 100 times, and I've only been here a year.
I don't know what short he's referring to, though. Real quick, boys and girls, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors here at PrizePicks. We've been talking with them all week long, leading up to the big game, which obviously is tomorrow, which we're going to dive into here in just a minute, given our previews and things like that. But right now, download the app PrizePicks. Use the code HIGHTOP to get back $50 when you play your first $5. Right now, they're running a special up till tomorrow, basically, where both quarterbacks are getting a little special, where all they have to do is get more than a yard, and it counts as a win on your lineup. What I'm rocking with them, you can just do one more and you're rocking and rolling. You do more than half a passing yard for Patty Mahomes. lock it in. And then anytime touchdown Saquon Barkley, because that man has been eating all playoff long. Like I said, the big game is almost here, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season. That is true with PrizePicks. The best place to win cash while watching the game. PrizePicks is also giving away, like I just said, a free pick for the big game where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you're correct on at least one more stat per projection, you can win real cash. Also, check out the promo tab to tell any of the Super Sweet Millie winners big game lineups. If you tell a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. So a lot of awesome giveaways heading into tomorrow with the big game. Ton of things to be excited about. The Super Bowl, I mean, that's what I think of. Obviously, I think just be big games, but now it's become much more than that. Have some fun with it. Download the app PrizePicks. Use the code HIGHTOP. Again, $5 first play, you get $50 back. PrizePicks, run your game. Now, let's dive into our next little topic. Wake up there, you guy. We've got obviously the Super Bowl tomorrow. We don't talk too much NFL in here, but I mean, look, this is the primo. This is the creme de la creme of games here. We talked a little bit all week long. I talked about with Stephen Harris and Dave a little bit, but I haven't got to talk to you gents about it. Cowboy Ty, how you feeling about tomorrow, and who's your pick?
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles, and it's not because I don't. First of all, Mahomes is annoying to me, but that's not the reason why. When you look at a close game, you sit there and you look in the trenches. And the Eagles have the best offensive line in the game. And when you pair the best offensive line in the game and you pair them with the best running back in the game, what you have is an amazing running game. And how you win in the NFL is running the football and controlling the clock, limit Mahomes' possessions. And when you deep dive Saquon Barkley, people say that the running back position isn't as important as it used to be. I completely disagree, because if you sit there and you watch Saquon Barkley, he actually helps his linemen by setting up blocks with his running ability. By that, I mean, he knows where the hole is going to be, but he'll run to the right, draw defenders, and then cut back to the hole, making it better for easier for his linemen to help block. And it's actually impressive, because when he hits the hole, no one's catching him. His average touchdown run on the season is 35 yards. That's insane. I mean, that's his average. Every time he scores, his average is 35 yards.
Wow.
And I mean, that's just a crazy stat to even think about.
Yeah.
But once again, and he has the best offensive line, and the way he does it, and then on the other side of the ball, the Philly defense is legit as it gets. They got a bunch of young guys over there, bunch of guys from Georgia over there that from the national championship team.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, they got DeJean, the only white cornerback I can even name.
Exciting whites. Hey, they got Reed Blankenship back there too. Don't get it twisted. Right?
He's a safety.
Them boys hold it down for us back there.
But if you sit there and you look, man, I mean, their defense is fast, and it's I think it's going to give Mahomes problems, and I do think that offensive line is going to give a lot of problems for that Kansas City front. I know Chris Jones is very good, but Saquon Barkley and that offensive line, I think, are just as tough as anybody. I don't think anybody's been able to even come close to stopping them.
Muddy, I'm going to get into that, but Muddy makes a good point as well, is that if the Chiefs win, is Andy Reid right on the door for the GOAT title? I think he is. He's not at the door. He's opened it and has made himself a new lane. I mean,
he's already to me, he's there.
I mean, he's at the door. He's already in the conversation. I mean, I know you can kind of argue that Bill has more than him, but we kind of saw, I mean, what Andy's been able to do at both places at Philadelphia, then coming here and building what he's built at Kansas City. You go and do something that's never been done before, and to take down your previous team, it's without a question. I think why we have such a hard time digesting this is because what we saw Tom do and how long it took for the fact that it's already kind of up for grabs and already in a possibility of being overtaken, the throne being overtaken in that short of a time. It's really hard for us to process. It's not easy to digest, but it's happening. It's happening right before our eyes, and instead of just arguing, it's like, no, like, take a step back. What we're seeing here is something unheard of. And look, I've always said, look, Patty is not in the conversation with Tom Brady. He wins tomorrow. He's 100% part of that conversation, and I have to just take a step back and put away my bias. But for me tomorrow, Greg Olsen nailed it on the head. And I think we all see this because my wifey was like, who do you think's going to win? And I was like, look, for personally, I think it'd be cool to see a three-peat, but I like Saquon Barkley. But Eagles fans are absolutely bizarre and just like maddening, which would be fun to watch. It's great TV. It's great content. But I can't stand Philly fans or just Philadelphia fans in general. But that team is phenomenal. I mean, it's probably one of the on stat sheet, one of the best teams we've seen. However, and this is where Greg kind of really makes a good point. There's 5 things that, the Chiefs do well at. It's last possession, 2-minute drills, special teams, the big play. Like, they win those 5 weird components every single time. And if you're in this game and they're down by a touchdown or there's a 2-minute game plan, the Chiefs are going to win it. You saw it with the Bills. The Bills should have won that game. They dominated the whole time. They were just kind of moving the ball very, very well. And what happened? There was a big moment. The big moment where Allen needed to get a yard, 4th and 1, and couldn't get it. That was one of the 5 things, right, that the Chiefs usually do. And so if the Eagles are unable to kind of get off and just take off and run with it, the Chiefs are going to get it done. But I think the Eagles, if they don't get too caught up into it and just go play their game and don't allow the Chiefs to stay in this, I think they handle it easily. But it's the Chiefs, and they've been doing this thing all season long. And here's what's scary is I think we can all agree they haven't looked good at all. Like, they haven't looked just dominant or just clicking. This will be the game that it clicks, and that's what I would be afraid of.
It just speaks for Andy Reid. I mean, they've won ugly. I mean, let's see what they have. I mean,
that's what I would be concerned
by any stretch of the imagination.
Let it get a little
I'm
pretty.
getting sick of those. I can tell you that flopping that he does is obnoxious, and it needs to be stopped. And it's made for soccer, not the NFL. I'm sick of it. What he was doing against the Texans, and every time he gets touched, he's pointing to his head. I'm over it. Like, you're supposed to be the face of the NFL, buddy. Like, act like it. You watch Joe Burrow get his head ripped off. You know what he does? Gets up and goes to the huddle.
What he does.
I love. He does, like a man.
Yeah, you gotta give me the best team in the NFL, and that's the refs and the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, so I asked myself, what would the script say? And I think the three-peat for the poster boys of the NFL, maybe a little wedding proposal, possibly a little engagement at the end. I don't know, a little swift action.
I would love that.
Just saying, never getting married, buddy. The guy's a bachelor for life.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way they take away from that. Look, you know what is? I will say, I understand it. I get the complaints about the ref. It's been very annoying for like hearing about it. These guys have been
almost unwatchable.
Yeah, it's been gross. They've been pestering them, and the questions that these guys are getting away with, about asking Mahomes and Travis about it. I've hated it. I get the frustration. And I know that Tom went through a few things with the Deflategate, and I mean, they had a ton of controversies that they went through, and those were actually legitimate controversies that had some investigation. This is just like and look, there might be, you could probably argue, but there isn't like an actual controversy involved, like legality-wise. It's just us being pissed off, like you just said. I'm tired of seeing it. And look, I think with great coaching and if there's a rule there and you exploit it, that's Bill Belichick did this too. It just may have not frustrated us as much, but he would do this as well. There's something I want to talk about here too in the comments section. Muddy says Brady retired as the GOAT. 5 years later, we have a new one. Yeah, that's crazy to think too. And this is interesting. I was going to say this, but I felt like I was beating a dead horse because we kind of said this with the college football championship, and I'm like, I'm looking around. I'm like, are we just spoiled? Do we just not care anymore? Like, it's like we're just constantly being shoved in our face with content that we're not impressed with things. Because he's saying not much juice behind the Super Bowl is LFGM. And I was feeling the same thing. I was like, I'm watching kind of clips and things like that, but I just feel like in the past there was a different buzz. And I've never been at the Super Bowl, whatever city it's at, but just watching it on TV, there's been just a different buzz in the air. And with this one, I thought there'd be more, but it does feel weird for me. And I'm like, I don't want to be that pessimistic, but it definitely felt more deflated. Do you guys feel the same way, or are we reaching here?
Personally, I just think, I'm sorry, Cody, my bad.
Go ahead.
Personally, no. I don't think it's that. I think it's just the two teams that are in there. I mean, we just saw the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and by that I mean it's just like the average fan who just watches the Super Bowl and the playoffs or whatever. They don't want to see the two same teams again. Like if this game was like Buffalo and Detroit, like everyone would be excited about it. I feel like everyone would be talking about it. Like one of these teams going to win a Super Bowl. Blah 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 blah.
First time
but
ever.
Like it's the same two teams,
Yeah.
and I think we've this narrative about the refs. Listen. I love the game of football. It's just that the way the game is called now, it's Mahomes trying to draw flags, and that's the problem with it right now. It's stop trying to draw flags and let the refs do their job. And I know it's a narrative, but they've actually been penalized. I think it's like 20, like they're 20th in the league in penalties. Like they're not. It just feels like that anytime Mahomes points to his head or anytime he wants to flop, he just always gets a flag because they're supposed to protect the quarterback and they're protecting the poster boy or whatever you want to say. I don't think it's like favoritism at all or anything like that. I think it's all we have to do to fix this. It's very simple. Face masks just need to be look up in New York and go, hey, it was a face mask, 15 yards. If they throw a flag for roughing a passer, New York sees it's obviously not a roughing a passer. Hey, it wasn't roughing a passer, no big deal. Put the ball back. Let's go. Like that's all it needs to be done.
Go, Cody.
Yeah, I kind of got to agree. I think the biggest thing too is like from crew to crew, it's not the same. Like we've seen it in college football too, where you can get away with a tug on the jersey, especially for DBs.
Let them
And
play.
then next thing you know, you barely touch a guy at 6 yards outside the 5 yard contact zone, and you're getting a flag. So it's just like it's the inconsistency, and these guys are professionals. They're supposed to be the best of the best, right? And so they should be more consistent. Listen, it's a quarterback driven league. I get protecting your prizes at quarterback. I don't like it as much, but it is what it is when you're paying these guys 40, 50, 60, 70 million dollars. You want to protect them, right? Every time something happens to a quarterback, it feels like there's a new rule that comes out. The low hit on Tom Brady blows his ACL out, and no longer are you allowed to hit below the knee anymore on quarterbacks inside the tackle box. So, it's one of those things where I feel like these rules have just gotten so quarterback friendly. It's getting quite annoying.
I think part of it too, because I think I go back to remember when the Cavs and Golden State were in like 4 or 5 years in a row. It felt like I enjoyed that time of basketball. I know some people probably hated it, but it was fun watching. It became a rivalry, and it was like who's going to own this era, this decade, I guess you could say. I think what the difference is, and they were talking about this too. Like I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but he's not in the conversation with a lot of these guys. He doesn't sit on the same pedestal. And this isn't me. I just think that's how he's viewed. He's not on the same pedestal as Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patty Mahomes, Joe Burrow. So he doesn't possess the same sexiness at quarterback play. And I think that could be what it is too, because again, a lot of this is on Saquon Barkley, and that doesn't cause for sexy narrative. The Patty Mahomes versus Saquon Barkley, that's not fun, right? And honestly, the Eagles team's just really, really good. They don't really have much of a storyline to really build upon, right? Of like, hey, outside of Jalen Hurts being his first Super Bowl, but I don't know if Jalen Hurts just isn't. I don't want to say isn't marketable, but that's kind of what it feels like. It's just because he's so cool, calm, and collected. Like, I like the guy. I'm actually a huge fan of Jalen Hurts. But is he somebody that gets somebody fired up and excited? No, because he is very just nonchalant and chill. And I guess most of these quarterbacks are, but I don't know. Do you see what I'm getting at? I think that could be part of why the sexiness may not be there. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah, I think also, like Jalen Hurts is not an elite quarterback. It's not that he doesn't play the position. His passing is not as elite as those other guys. And I think that's like a factor because if you sit back and you look at like Jalen Hurts, if he leads his first read is gone, he kind of floats back there, almost stands flat footed, and then looks to run or scramble out of the pocket and try to find somebody on the run. And like when you watch Joe Burrow, he's standing in the pocket, he's moving his eyes left, right. He's ready to throw the ball at all times. And Jalen Hurts just doesn't have that, like you said, sexiness because his passing isn't that great. He's more of he's almost like a run first at this point. I almost feel like his over under passing attempts is like 21 or 22 or something like that. In the NFL, that's insanely low. If you sit there and you think about it, I think Mahomes is like 35, 36. So I just think the Eagles play a different style of football because of the players they have, and that's why the sexiness for Jalen Hurts isn't there.
I think the other part of it too is that, look, because some people are saying, hey, we're tired of seeing the Chiefs in it. Well, Tom and the Patriots dominated for almost over a decade, but what the difference was is that there was always a team on the other side that we could get behind, right? So you either were all in for Tom, or you were like, I can get 100% behind this team. There's nobody who wants to be behind Philadelphia. So everyone who usually you would tune in and be excited to see the possible downfall of Patty and the Chiefs, but the exchange is the Eagles win. So everyone's like, it's a lose-lose. And I think that's what it probably boils down to.
Well, and you got to think too, probably the most lackluster Super Bowl that we had during that Patriots run lackluster in game was the Atlanta game, and then they go out and make it an absolute show with the big comeback. You know what I mean? It just
I was
didn't
like,
that
lackluster.
Super
That was
Bowl
the
didn't.
greatest Super Bowl of all time.
Yeah, no, just the two teams. You were like, Atlanta, whatever, it's okay.
Yeah, but it possessed that though. Atlanta, it would have been their first Super Bowl. It was nobody hates Atlanta. Like they don't carry like the same type of persona that the Eagles do. So it's like, yeah, everybody loved Matt Ryan. Like there was a hero that you could fight for going into that Super Bowl, and it was at Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I think it was. I think
it wasn't.
No, I don't think they played in Atlanta because that would have been
because Tampa was the first time that a team made it to the Super Bowl.
Made it, yeah,
and
I don't
won
know
it.
What dome it was in, but
and then the following year was the Rams at SoFi, right? I think.
Yes, the Rams did make it,
and won it too. We've never seen it before ever, and then it happened back-to-back years, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, one more thing about this ref situation.
Yeah.
I want people to understand how hard it is to actually ref a football game. Before the game starts, going into detail, what they actually do is they actually go to you as coaches and they say, hey, listen, we are looking for this, this, and this. This is what we're keeping our eye on. This is one of our, this is what our crew looks for very, very strictly. And they tell you pre-game. And then if you have a bad angle or you can't see something or a player's in your way, it just happens, man. Like it is very hard to ref a game. I defend these guys because I do know how hard it is and understand how hard it is. But the roughing the passer is the problem that I'm having an issue with the most of the time.
Takes away for sure of again the sexiness of the game. I mean, just of what it used to be. Ty's not there. Let's talk about this last little bit here, then we'll wrap it up. I find this interesting because I'm big. Oops, that's two of me. Big Barstool guy.
I see both of you. That's a little narcissism.
I mean, I do host my own show. The Barstool part of it that I enjoy watching is Dave, who's obviously a big Michigan fan. He's like, Michigan fans rejoice because they've obviously have dominated. They've owned Ryan Day since he's been there. Ryan Day hasn't been able to overcome the Michigan hump. And so Michigan fans jokes is that it's, they're loving this, that he got an extension through 2031, making him the second highest paid college football coach of currently, right behind, obviously, Kirby Smart. Is he the second best coach in college football? I mean, what's funny is at the loss of the Michigan game, like this is how great, and we keep going back to this, but this man, if it was not a 12-team playoff, would have not had a job. But because of the 12-team playoff, loses that Michigan game, which would have lost his job every year up until this point, but doesn't, which, look, it is what it is with the rules, goes on a run, and then becomes arguably now viewed as the second best coach in college football. I mean, what a just extreme turnaround in 5 games.
Natty.
In 5 games, it just shows you how emotional we are as fans. I mean, not that we made the call, but look, they were calling for Day's head after that Michigan game.
Yeah, I mean, you see it all the time, though. Like, fans overreact constantly. Let's not get it twisted. Like, we get on here and we talk or whatever, but I totally understand. But, like, people overreact all the time. Even myself, sometimes I'll be like, Ryan Day's done. And we were talking about if Ryan Day loses to Tennessee at the first round, is his job over? And I said, yes. I said 100%. His job is done. If he loses to Tennessee,
it would have been.
But he didn't.
It would have been.
Right. And he wins a national title. And people sit back and they go, well, what's more important, beating Michigan or a national title? And I don't think that's without a question. I think it's a national title. I mean, I understand you want to beat your rival and everything, and that's cool and everything, but would you rather Florida beat Florida State or would you rather get that natty ring? You know what I mean? Like, you want to see your team on the big stage. You want to see your team in the national championship. That's the important factor of it. And lucky for Ohio State, Michigan wasn't in it. I mean, that's that simple, So, I mean, true. Ryan Day, he deserved it. 7-year extension. And don't get me wrong, I don't think he's the second best coach in the NFL. I think he is gifted the second or first best team every single year. Let's not get it twisted. I don't think he's terrible. I just don't think that he is. We're putting him on a pedestal that you don't belong in college football because you have the best talent. You should be the best team in the country. And this is honestly the first time you actually have been the best team in the country in quite a while. Then I can sit there and say, hey, the talent finally showed up. Because I said at the beginning of the year, that if that team don't win national title, like, Ryan Day sucks. Like, I remember saying that because of the talent they had. I mean, Travion Henderson, he's projected to be a first rounder, a late first rounder. You got Quinshawn Judkins, Jeremiah Smith would be the number one. They got offensive linemen out the wazoo ready to come out.
Tom
I mean,
Sawyer. I mean,
Sawyer off the edge. I mean, they just have it all, and they should have won the national title, and they did. So for that, he deserved the extension.
that's kind of a good point too, is that he did what he was supposed to do. I mean, it wasn't like you said, going into the season, there's no reason. I mean, hands down, you were the most talented football team through and through, and it just took you. I mean, look, you showed it at the right time. That's what matters most. I agree, though. I think he does deserve the extension. Although I was heavy, and that's just how close college football is. That's the tinkering of it. I mean, it's 5 weeks ago, or whenever at the end of the season, if he would have lost to Tennessee, we would all be like, yeah, it's time for him to go. Like, that's just how quick it is. Thoughts, Cody?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a stat line like all the other coaches that get fired and the colleges have to pay their buyout and he gets to sit and collect. They loaded up for one.
He's the next Jimbo.
They loaded up for. Well, they loaded up for 1 year. Ohio State recruits itself. I mean, I could be the freaking recruiting coordinator there and put up the classes they do. It's not very impressive. They have the pipeline of the whole Midwest, and then they reach out to Cali and go get kids from Mater Dei also, and Florida and everywhere else. You kind of look at the list. I think you see there is a difference. Kirby Smart, he's the number one paid coach, and that's probably for a reason, because he's the best coach in college football right now. Unfortunately, for Florida, I think he just kind of had a couple offs. They got to get the quarterback position right, but Ryan Day is a guy that everything had to go the perfect way for him to win it. I mean, they peaked at the just right time. There's nobody. I mean, Jesus and the disciples couldn't have came down and beat them the way they were playing football. I mean, and they are absolutely loaded. They went and bought a national championship team.
I'm looking to see, because I want to. Yeah, because I think a name that I think of when we're thinking top coaches, Dan Lane, one of my favorites. He's not even up there. You know what's crazy is Lincoln Riley sit at number 4 with 10 million.
Kirby, Dabo is 3. Sark is 4.
Then Lincoln.
And DeBoer is 5 right now.
No, Mike Norvell is.
Get the fuck out of here.
He is.
He's tied for 7th.
Yeah.
He's 5.
He's tied for 7th.
What's crazy is that, look, Dan is not above Josh Heupel, Lane Kiffin, Eli Drinkowitz,
Who gets fired?
or Mark Stoops.
Who gets fired first?
Dan Laney got an extension, and he's not above any of those coaches that I just mentioned.
Where is this coming from? Like, what kind of list is this?
The list. I don't know what
who made the list. Who made this list?
You know, Mike.
So who do you think?
You know, Mike's up there. He's robbing you.
Florida State must have made the damn list. Like a booster had to make this damn list. There's no way that Mike Norvell is number 5.
He's tied for 7th.
Yes, he makes $10 million a year annually.
Oh, you're talking about money. I thought you were talking about like best coaches.
No. I'm like,
oh my God.
Why are you arguing with me? Money is money, Ty.
About to jump through the wall. I was like, how in the hell? Who said this guy's a top 5 coach?
FSU did make the list because they feel that by paying him that he is a top 5 coach.
Yeah, because they're idiots. We're stone idiots.
Oh man,
so
who gets fired first?
Look at that team in the background; they're in shambles too. They get Pete Carroll, so whatever. We're good.
I love it. I'm pumped for the Raiders, man. Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly. I'm loving what they're doing out there. I'm excited to see how that unfolds. But yeah, look, I think with this big move for Ryan Day and getting paid as much as he's getting paid, again, good for him. Will it pay off? I don't know, but I think it also speaks to, which we've talked about for Florida before, man. You really don't want to get into that coaching carousel either. You're seeing a lot of teams get plucked and losing as coaches and assistant coaches because, you may be kind of sitting on the fence, but someone's going to come in and knock on the door. Colorado just extended their defensive coach, Robert Livingston. He was making like $600,000, but he was having a ton of people knock on his door. I mean, I kind of made a comment. I was like, look, like NIL is tough for the players. It's just the same thing for the coaches. I mean, they're getting their door knocked on. Florida's getting picked. It feels like every single year. Chapman was interviewing with the Bears. I mean, it's tough to keep your coaches. So you kind of have to, I think what we're seeing is the lines just being moved up. You know what I mean? Ryan Day currently sits as the number 2 highest paid. That doesn't mean that they're looking at him like that, but hey, he is valuable, and these other guys are just waiting to catch up. Mike Norvell, I mean, obviously just signed his extension. Brian Kelly, he got paid a ton to go down there, which is crazy. Lane hasn't just signed an extension 2 years ago. I mean, he probably could argue for another one here shortly as well, too. Josh Heupel could probably, if Tennessee makes the playoff again, I'm sure he could probably put himself into a conversation a little bit more, too. So we'll see. You realize quickly, too, when we're going over this list and we're saying this, Mike Norvell, DeBoer, Brian Kelly being 6, 7, 8, when we think that they're the top 10 coaches in the country right now, I just think that just shows you how far the fall off is from the top, that it's like, we could argue like anybody for those last 10 spots.
I think the Ryan Day thing is the biggest head scratcher. Is he was not interviewed by any NFL teams. Nope, NFL teams wanted him, and I can't think of a college that was beaten down the door to get him. So why sign the massive extension?
You know,
get him while you can.
To me, it shows coach stability. You know, in recruiting classes, sometimes a player, he wants stability in his coach, and when you go there, you're the guy. You know what I mean by that? I mean, you know what you're getting. You know Ryan Day's your guy. Like, he's going to be your coach for 4 years, 2 years, however long you stay. Even though the portal has changed that a little bit, I still think coach stability is a big factor in people, picking schools over another school or something like that. I think that extension seems to me, it's like, oh, this is going to guarantee some more, some more recruits and things like that.
For sure. Well, boys, great show. Great little Saturday kickoff. Talk all things.
One more question. We can talk about this. I just want to know what you think.
Uh-huh.
So in the NFL, right, you get the players get money, and then they get incentives on if you make these many catches, you do this, blah 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 blah. How comes a coach in the NFL signed a $64 million contract, 3 years, and it's not, hey, if you have the best offense, you get this, or if your defense is in the top 10, you get this. You just get $64 million. And the reason I bring this up is because when you look at Josh McDaniels, he almost looked like he sabotaged the Raiders when he took over. So, like, how can they incentivize players, but you can't incentivize coaches to be like? To me, that's kind of insane. Like, just that's different. But I'm just curious on your take.
I think the incentive is that they're more likely to fire the coach. You really don't see if a player has a down year, they get cut. But if Josh McDaniels has a bad year, the likelihood of you getting canned very quickly are very much. And most of the time, it's all guaranteed, which I know some NFL guys are starting to sign more guaranteed. I know we're getting there.
My point.
But coaches definitely, I mean, the whole thing is always guaranteed. I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I look at more because you can measure an individual incentive versus when you're managing a team. But I'm also, like, again, as a sales manager, I get incentive based on how my team is doing. So I'm kind of contradicting my own argument there. I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that it's like it's the unwritten rule as you taking on the head coach and leadership role. Like, that's just your role. Your incentive is to win games. I think it's weird that players get incentives to go catch more balls. Like, what?
I mean, I get it. But, like, if I sign a 4-year deal and you fire me after year one, I sit on my ass and I collect $20 million from you. Like, thank you. Like, that's the best job of your life. Like, what do you know what I mean?
I think I kind of understand what you're saying because, yes, I have said this before in a way that it's almost like these coaches for a bit were just working really, really hard to get that fat contract and like, all right, cool, I'm done. I got it. Like, I'm set. What I'll do now is Cliff Kingsbury this, right? I'll roll off into the sunset for a year, then I'll come back and then I'll just figure out where I want to be. But now I'm not coaching with the stress on my back anymore because I got all the money in the bank. I did what I kind of went through and burned a bridge, and now there's no pressure. Like, and now people are knocking on his door and he's kind of like, I'm good. I tasted it. I got my money. So you kind of learn that way too. So I get that part of like, okay, well, maybe if that goes back to signing contracts. Like, maybe like, hey, we're going to give you, it's a $64 million contract, but here's where, here's your salary and you can earn the rest through wins and basically just wins and losses. That's the only thing that would define it, right? You unlock this tier at 7 wins, so on.
Or you get like you're a top 10 offense in the league, or you're a top 10 defense in the league and you get this bonus or you get that bonus. It's crazy to me that like you said, Cliff Kingsbury, he now after he coached, he can now pick and go, oh, the Commanders getting Jane Daniels. Cool. I want to go there. Like now I look like a genius. It's
Yeah.
like it's crazy to me.
No,
Well,
I
I'm
think
just curious.
the
Cody,
whole
what do you think? I'm just curious.
it's switched. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't even like that it's guaranteed. I feel like if you do a bad enough job, you get fired, like job doesn't pay me after I get fired. Like that's
It's
in the contract, null and void. You suck.
Right.
It is crazy.
They're getting fleeced by these agents.
It's wild. I mean, it's just wild to me.
It is. I agree. I think there is an issue with it for sure. I think people are getting overpaid, and it's not. There's no accountability. But yeah, it's a great conversation. Great question, Ty. Boys and girls, good to see you on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Have fun tomorrow with whatever Super Bowl party you are at. We're having one here at the Cribbo. Should be. I mean, look. At the end of the day, you still watch, right? I think it'll be one of the most watched Super Bowls. People say it's because of Swifties. I think it's because history's on the line, and you'd be an idiot not to say that you were there to witness it, regardless. And most importantly, last year what was born was the Gatorade saga, and I'm coming back. I'm going to figure out what the color is, and I'm betting. I'm feeling it's got to be rush. It's got to be purple because if the Chiefs win and they're not drinking purple this year, I'm rioting. Because you mean to tell me last year you drank purple, but this year you're not? Nah. That lets me know that if the thing's rigged, if they're not drinking purple, because you don't just flip the switch. Okay, so I'm letting you know now that the cheddar's going on purple. Okay, purple. Riptide Rush.
Purple.
I'm gonna wear this shirt all day tomorrow. High Top Sports, y'all boys know what's up. I made a shirt
What if
last
the
year.
Eagles win? What if the Eagles win?
I'm going with the odds here. I'm honestly, I really hope the Chiefs win just so I can complete my science project. See, at this point, I've got a bigger fish to fry here. Okay, because I went on a rant last year. The purple had me in shambles.
Has it been purple? Was it purple their first year they won too?
I think it was red.
Oh.
It's been red and purple. Yes, they've had purple before though. So
So wild.
Yeah, purple is. I looked up the purple is very likely. I think a color that hasn't been used a lot is white.
How do I not know the guy who makes the Gatorade for both teams and just call him up and drop $1 million on both? Like, how do we not know that? Like, I mean, let's go.
So you know what's crazy is I saw this guy on TikTok. He was at the rehearsals because obviously they do the betting on the over under for the national anthem, right? And so he was at the game for the rehearsal today and recorded it.
Oh.
So anybody who's watching, it was more than 2 minutes. All right. So if you're into that kind of stuff, dude, there was a practice flyover and everything. And it was like 2 minutes and 5 seconds. So if that's the line, it's crazy. I'm like,
We're
yo,
Rock
this
City.
We're
That's
gambling on the national anthem?
Every year, buddy, it's a bet.
Bro,
It's a bet every year.
excuse me?
Hold
on.
What is wrong with this society?
No. Oh, listen, this is why I love the Super Bowl. Look, here's why I love the look. Okay, the national anthem is a must. Gatorade color number 2. Coin toss, that one's kind of whatever. National anthem, I said that one. Which
That's your
coach they
best
show
bet.
first? Which coach they show first? So during the national anthem, which coach will be with the camera pan to first? Love that one. That one gets me fired up. 1 year the wife got it right. It was what color shoes? Whoever, I think it was Janet Jackson was performing. I think it was some. She got the shoes right. The color shoes right. When Eminem was performing, what song will he perform first? Will Snoop Dogg come out with a blunt in his mouth? Then there's the Rob Gronkowski field goal saga because he has the commercial. Will he make the field goal? That one burned me year one. I'll never touch that one again. That one had me hot because I thought it was going to be a live kick, but it was pre-recorded. So it was predetermined.
That's lame. I didn't know that.
Exactly. So
Can we get an over and under how many times they panned to Taylor?
I'm sure you can
Actually,
find
I
it.
think there is a line somewhere. Yeah, I think there is a line somewhere.
Give me some of that juice, I guess.
Oh, man.
Plenty of fun ones. Well, boys and girls,
Right.
y'all be good. Smash the like button. Be sure to check out PrizePicks. Use the code HIGHTOP, of course. You know, guys know the drill. Where's my mouse at? There it is. Y'all be good. Good to see you on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Smash the like button, subscribe. We'll see you boys in the next one. Peace and love, baby. See ya.